What is the difference between a Lash certification and cosmetology or esthetician license? Now, I want to put a disclaimer just because every country and every state has their own regulations, but I'll be so happy to explain you the big difference between both of them.
You're listening to the Full-Time Lash Artist Podcast. If you want to jumpstart your lash career, you can also watch Cosme's free lash training at www.fulltimelashartist.com. Let's grow.
So now let's start with the Lash certification. That can be somewhere around between 2 up to 3-4 days. It depends what class you are planning to take. For example, the options that I do here in my salon, it's somewhere around between 2 up to 3 days. Now the 2-day is the very beginner class, which is the classic application. What we usually cover in this class is we go very deep into the theory, skills, knowledge, everything about a difference between thickness, difference between curls, what type of lashes should we use, tweezers, the position, basically everything. Second day, we go and practice on a real client, which you're going to practice for about 3-4 hours. Now, by the end of the second day, you're going to have much more knowledge than you ever think. Now, the second option that I do most of the time with my students is it's actually 3 days. Now, what we usually cover in the 3 days, we cover classic, we cover the difference between volumes, Russian volume, American volume, how to customize the fence, how to crystallize the fence, how to save your time before your client comes and make the fence before. It's very, very intense. So like I said, that could be between 2 up to 3-4 days. It depends what class you are choosing. Now, of course, you also have to search a little bit before you take your training class, just because you want to know if the person has been doing trainings for a long time, or did you see the work, did you see their page, their website, their Instagram, are they familiar with all those type of volumes, Russian volume, American volume, red carpet volume. There are so many styles, like the trend styles, wet look, and Kim Kardashian's looks. Every year it's different, so you have to be very careful when you take your training class. Now, in terms of money, that could be somewhere around between $1,000 up to $3,000-$4,000. What I always recommend and what I always explain to my students is you're going to be able to practice on a real client. You're going to be able to understand the actual work. How many lashes we have? Do we work on layers? There is very, very intense once you're planning to take a couple days of trainings. Now, the difference between having a license and a Lash certification is huge. So that really depends on your country or on your state. Some other states, they don't even require you to have a license. You can just have a Lash certification, 2-3 days of class, and then you are able to provide those services. Now, cosmetology or esthetician. Cosmetology school, you will be somewhere around between 6 to 13 months of school. It depends if you're taking a full-time or a part-time class. Now, cosmetology, they focus more into hair and nails. Now, esthetician, which is the class that I took, esthetician is more on aesthetic part. You're going to learn all about makeup, skincare, facials, lashes. But the actual practice and skills all about lashes, unfortunately, you're not going to see. The school that I took, it was about 13 months, and we only did lashes for about 2 days. We never practiced on a model, we never practiced on a real client, so you're not going to have that type of skills and knowledge that you're having in a regular lash certification, where we focus more into the practice and work on a real client. Esthetician school, they focus on a skincare, more into the facials and things like that. Now, this could be somewhere around between $10,000 to $20,000. Cosmetology is a little bit more expensive because you're going to learn nails and also hair. Esthetician is somewhere around between $10,000 to $15,000, but they go overall on everything. You're not going to have the skills only for lashes or only practicing on a real client. Now, in order for you to make a decision, I always recommend something that I did on my own. I took one class with extreme lashes when I started. I see how everything came for me. I was practicing for a little while, and then I went back and took the volume class with extreme lashes as well. I was practicing on some friends, I was practicing on families, and then I was working on the mannequin on my own for a couple months. And then when I realized that this is the step that I want to take in the future, this was the time when I started my esthetician school. Now, to give you a little advice in here, I always recommend to start with the lash certification first in order for you to understand if you want to do something like this, or you try to practice for a couple months, see how everything comes, because the bad part is that you're starting the school, you're spending so much money, and then you realize that you don't want to do something like this in the future. So in this case, I always recommend start with the lash certification. First of all, it's quicker, between 2 to 3 days. You don't have to spend months in the school. And then after a couple months, when you realize that you want to do something like this, you can always go and apply for the school, either part-time or either full-time.
If you got a passion for lashes, let me see it. It's time to level up. If you need me to, I'll teach you my 6-figure secret. Better believe it, 'cause I believe in you. You're listening to the Full-Time Lash Artist Podcast. If you want to jumpstart your lash career, you can also watch Cosme's free lash training at www.fulltimelashartist.com. Let's grow.